Where are the non-San Jose prospects going to be playing this year? What are some big questions surrounding them? So we're going to dive into the 2023 class, the 2022 class, and some of the other non-Barracuda prospects and kind of ask big questions about each one heading into their season. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Sharks.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, contributor at Inside the Rink, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proud to be a part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day, and if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can subscribe on YouTube as well, or you can do both. Both is good. Today, we're going to be kind of just doing a nice overview of where all the players, all the non-Barracuda, non-Wichita, kind of where everyone's going to be at once, especially now that we're going to start to see cut downs, kind of just a nice reminder of where everyone's at. And then what kind of a big question for each prospect going into their seasons. And if guys have played, we do have a couple guys who does have some games, kind of a quick, very early season check-in on them. So before, though, we do all that, do need to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you guys by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more right now. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. All right, so we're going to start with the 2023 draft class. And again, just quick overview, where is this person playing and what's a big question kind of surrounding them, and if they haven't started their season, when they can start their season. So, of course, the fourth overall pick in the draft, Will Smith, going to be playing at Boston College this year in the NCAA. His season doesn't start till October 7th, which is kind of that weekend is the big kickoff for most of college hockey. And I think the big question for him is, will he be one and done this year, right? Can he prove enough defensively, et cetera, to be a one and done player and then start his professional career at the end of the season? So I think for him, yes, the offense needs to be there, but being that full 200-foot player is going to be kind of the what can he do to prove that he's ready to come. And I honestly don't know. I think it's going to be one of the biggest kind of questions for the Sharks this season. That's going to be is when do the San Jose pull the trigger on Will Smith, and if they're going to send it back for another season, or if they want to kind of get him in the building and start kind of growing and developing. So Will Smith, October 7th. And the nice thing is I think a lot of his games will be on ESPN Plus. We'll be doing our best here at Locked On Sharks to be kind of tracking his games. So next, of the 2023 draft class, Quentin Musty with the Sudbury Wolves in the OHL. OHL season is already started, but Musty is still in Sharks training camp as of right now. Hasn't done much. I think he's been suffering. We haven't seen him on the ice for practice, and I believe he's probably suffering an injury, maybe something happening in the rookie tournament. So he will be going back to the OHL this year, and I think the big question for him is, the big thing I'm kind of watching for, that consistency for this season, right? We know last year the struggles with him at the beginning of the season due to, of course, overcoming mono, and then maybe the coaching wasn't the right fit. And then he turned things on at the end of the season. Can we have a full monster Musty season this year where he is regarded as one of the best players in the OHL? And I think that's a lot to ask to be one of the best players in an entire league. But for a guy like Quentin Musty, who was a former first overall pick in the OHL draft, I think it's lofty expectations, but I think they're reasonable expectations. And again, it doesn't have to be. Can he be one of the best guys in the entire league? And I think that's big question for him. And I think you guys know how I feel about Quentin Musty. I think he could be that guy for the Sharks this season. So next, Casper Holton, who will be going over and playing North America hockey with the London Knights in the OHL. Same thing. Last season started in the OHL already, but he is in Sharks camp right now. Big question for him is translating his game from the larger European ice to the smaller North American ice. Can he add more? We know the shot is there, right? Can he fill out the rest of his game? And I think playing on London, he's going to get an opportunity to do that. London's always just an awesome team, and he's going to be a big contributor for that. So having him fill out the rest of his game, that is going to be the big Halton in question. Brandon Svoboda, the Sharks picked in the third round. Going back to the USHL, playing with the Youngstown Phantoms again. They've already started their season, 2 games, no points so far, playing kind of a third, fourth line. So big question for him is, can he continue to add offense to his game? I know last year he was asked to play a lot of these defensive minutes, but can he add offense and kind of climb up, becoming a second line forward? And continue to add offense before he heads off to college. So early in the season, Youngstown has not. I think they've lost both their games, but see if he can become more of a contributor for Youngstown as they look to make a defense on their title run. Luca Cagnoni, Portland Winterhawks, same thing. WHL has already started their season. He's in camp. Can he be the guy on one of the best teams in all of CHL? The Winterhawks expected to make a deep run this year, and I think he is going to be the guy on the blue line. And can he be that guy and play those high leverage minutes while he guides his team on a deep run? Building that type of resume of just kind of being that guy on the blue line. Cagnoni, I think he's. I've said it before, I'll say it with him. I think he's got that chip on his shoulder, the way he works. And we know with small defensemen, right, they're either awesome in the NHL or they don't make it. I got a good feeling about Cagnoni. All right, Alex Landon, playing in the SHL, the HV71 team, just got promoted to SHL after starting in the junior J20 league. Had 8 games in the J20, had a goal and 5 assists, so not a bad start. Has dressed, but hasn't played any minutes in the SHL. So big question for him is, can he make an impact in the SHL, especially, at this young of an age? And yes, he hasn't played yet, but I know maybe they're being a little bit slow with his development, getting him there and then see what happens. And, maybe being that 13th forward. We'll talk about 13th forward here in a little bit, but can he make an impact in that SHL? That'd be a big sign for the Sharks for him. So next guy, Eric Polkamp, who'll be playing in Bemidji State University in the NCAA. Season starts October 8th. Big question for him is, will he make Team USA at the World Juniors? He had a great summer, especially when it came to the World Juniors kind of showcases. And he, talking to a lot of the people who cover that, we did that, in the middle of the summer with Stephen Ellis, and he looks great. And he's going to be a big potential, if possibility of making that Team USA. And I think good experience for him to kind of continue his growth and development, especially as an overager. David Klee, who's playing with the Muskegee Lumberjacks in the USHL. So going back to the USHL for another season before starting his college career. 2 games so far, does have a goal. His big question is, can he grow his offensive game on a new team? So didn't do too much offensively, but hopefully with a new team, maybe he can find some offense and, be as he, before he heads off to college. So, and then finally from the 2023 draft, Igor Rimashevsky, playing in Dynamo for the KHL, 10 games, has 3 assists while he's only averaging 4-19 time on ice. That's pretty solid production. I mean, with that little ice time. His big question, can he turn into anything? We know he, from his draft profiles, loves to try to score, not super intrigued in playing in the other parts of the zone, other zones on the ice. But not getting a lot of ice time. Can you make the most of it? And so far, so good, at least with when it comes to production. So before we continue, I do need to take a quick break. Talk to you guys about our good friends over at FanDuel. And if you want to snap into action, the NFL action this season, FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, and they got you covered because right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets that you win or lose, that you can get no matter what, win or lose. So if you're thinking about joining FanDuel, there's a better time, no better time than now to get on the action. The app's easy to use, wide range of betting options, including spreads. Maybe you're thinking Miami might go up and cover that 2.5-point spread right now in Buffalo this weekend. Player props. Christian McCaffrey scoring a anytime touchdown. Again, the dude, all he does is score touchdowns for the Niners. They have overs, unders, whatever your little heart desires, they've got you covered. I like the same game parlays. We can kind of, especially if you see how a game, you kind of think how a game's going to go, and you're like, oh yeah, I think that. Same game parlays, super fun. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, moving on to the 2022 draft class. So Filip Bystedt playing in Linköping this year in the SHL. 4 games, 0 points, first line center. Hasn't looked super great in a couple games that I've caught this year. He was actually last game, he was the 13th forward. So basically just kind of mixed in there. Big question for him is, can he take the next step with more responsibilities, right? Played the third line last year, was the SHL Rookie of the Year. Now that he's kind of moving up in the pecking order, can he continue to grow his game with those responsibilities and be a producer, not only in the offensive zone, but in the defensive zone as well, and kind of be that full 200-foot player that we are expecting out of Bystedt in the future. So again, not at the greatest start so far. You can see a little bit of the offense there, but kind of seem to be just kind of wandering around, at least small couple games I've watched. Just not quite engaged as much as you would like. So very early this season, not to worry yet, but just something to keep an eye on. So Cam Lund, of course, he's second round pick in that draft, playing again for Northeastern NCAA. Season starts October 7th. Big question for Lund is, can we see the sustained scoring, right? And he was very streaky with his goal scoring last year. We know what type of shooter he is, especially, back in his, before starting in college. Great job with the transition last year. Like, his transition game was very noticeable, but can we see that goal scoring for him as he goes into year 2 as a sophomore season with Northeastern? So Matthias Havlet, also with Linköping and the SHL. 4 games, 3 assists so far, mostly playing kind of that third pairing role with Linköping. He has gotten some opportunities on the power play, but big question for Havlet is, can he continue to kind of grow and maybe climb up those D pairing rankings and maybe end the season in the middle pairing, or maybe also running the top power play as he continues to grow and develop this year. So great, I think solid start for him, especially after last year where he missed the first half of the season. Can continue to grow and develop. So Michael Fisher playing with Northeastern in the NCAA. Season starts also October 7th. Big question for him, what does a healthy Fisher look like, right? We missed the majority of last year with a knee injury. Only played in, the final 10 games, I think, last season. And, didn't, I think in the playoffs, didn't really get to play a ton. So what does he look like now that he's hopefully fully healthy and then making that transition into the NCAA? Super raw, talented player, but at this point, he needs some ice time, needs some reps. So can he earn some of that reps, and what do we see out of him? So Of course, Mason Beaupit, the Sharks goalie pick from last year, was traded from Spokane to Winnipeg, is now with the Wenatchee Wild in the WHL. Their season's already started, but he is in Sharks training camp, of course. Can we see a consistent Beaupit, right? Terrible start on a bad Spokane team last year. Got traded. Winnipeg was one of the best teams in all of juniors last year. That team is going to be pretty good again this year with a lot of their big pieces kind of still coming back. Can he be a consistent player for them? Even as it seems like he's probably going to still be a backup this year, but can he, when given an opportunity, can he be a consistent player? And again, the Sharks need an answering goalie. So Jake Furlong, playing with the Halifax Mooseheads in the Q. Their season's already started. Of course, he is in Sharks training camp. I thought he looked pretty solid in the preseason game on Sunday night. Limited ice time there, but I thought he made a couple decent plays. Big question for him, continue that defensive growth, right? We know the offense is there, especially in the Q, not known for their defense. So that is something he's going to have to kind of, I think, work harder, if that makes sense, to continue to grow, because they don't really play as defensively styled hockey. Anyway, so he's going to be, can we continue to see the growth in his own end there? So Joey Maldoni, University of Connecticut, season starts October 7th. Can his offense translate to the NCAA? Had a really good scoring season last year in the USHL. Can we see that as he starts college hockey, where, again, we know that jump from USHL to college, here it's the gauntlet, right? Can he make that jump there with them? Kind of same question for Eli Bartnett, who's going to be playing with the University of Vermont in NCAA. Season starts October 7th. Can his game translate with increased competition, right? Was playing in the BCHL last year. Going to be, that's a big jump from BCHL to playing NCAA hockey. How does his game look? I know he's going to be a defensive defenseman, but that's a big question for him, is seeing that game translate and continuing to see that little offense blossom for him. So, and then finally, out of the 2022 draft class, Reese LeBach, going to Penn State. Season also starts October 7th. Can he make an impact on a top 20 team? This team, I think, is ranked 16th right now in the preseason hockey rankings. Can he make an impact on what should be a pretty good team? We know the scoring. He has been, especially once he got traded to Omaha last year, definitely saw the scoring in the USHL. Can he continue that playing on a good team? So before we continue and kind of cover the rest of the guys who aren't in these two classes, I do want to thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Again, probably part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you got to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can subscribe on YouTube as well. And we're going to be continuing this week with looking at, of course, we got 2 preseason games. We'll probably do some stock up, stock down at some point. So plenty of good stuff coming on as we get you guys ready for a new season of Sharks hockey. So yeah, again, make sure you follow along wherever you get podcasts, or just subscribe on YouTube as well. All right, the rest of the guys, of course, Gannon Laroque, who's going to be an interesting player, and we've discussed on this, podcast of what are the Sharks going to do with him, and assuming he doesn't stay with the Barracuda this year, he would be going back to the Victoria Royals in the WHL. Of course, Gannon is in training camp. I thought he looked good as well on Sunday nights, during Sunday night's game against the Vegas Golden Knights. But the big question for him is, can he return to form, especially after the injuries that wiped out all but 4 games for him last season? And, rewind a year ago at this time, we were talking about Gannon Laroque as a, potential top 5 in the Sharks prospect pool. And, it kind of, again, injuries suck, but So far, so good with Laroque. He looks, looks explosive still. His skating still looks smooth. I just, can he return to form and kind of take that next take that next step, despite not playing basically all of last year. Theo Jacobson, who's playing in the Allsvenskan, 1 game, 1 assist. Big question for him: can he make an impact? He's been kind of floating around over there in Sweden, and haven't really, nothing's kind of jumped off for him. And it feels like this kind of a big make or break season for him to try to be a potential NHL player at some point. So I know at least the old coaching staff or the old front office really liked him, but does he fit in with Mike Greer's new kind of philosophy and the way he's trying to build this team? So Evgeny Konishkov, so remember he was a former Q guy, went last year, started over in the KHL. He's still in the KHL this year. Has played 9 games, 0 points. Big question is, does he ever come over? And I'm kind of tempted to think probably not. But you never know. Kind of keep an eye on him. Some guys, you just carve out a nice career in the KHL, and that, he's from Russia. Like, would make a lot of sense. So we shall see with him. The Sharks do own his rights kind of indefinitely. So if he ever does want to come over to the NHL, they would own his rights. But we'll see. Alex Young, very interesting prospect for the Sharks. So again, that 2020 7th round pick, has played with Colgate this year, transferred to Arizona State for his last year. His season starts October 6th, and last year had a big year offensively. I think for him, the big question is, will he sign after the season, right? The Sharks have his rights through this off season. And if he wants to be a Shark, or is this going to be maybe like a Henry Thrun situation where he just says, don't intend to sign? Maybe you flip him for a late round pick, or you just let him walk in free agency and then he becomes a free agent where he's bound, he can sign wherever he wants. So we shall see with him. I think just continuing on the ice, continuing to kind of show that growth and development we've seen, especially from the scoring end the last couple of years. So Timofey Spitzerov, University of Vermont. He starts October 7th as well. Big question, is he going to be anything? He hasn't really done too much with the University of Vermont. I think the Sharks have 2 years left on his signing rights. But at this rate, the way he's going, I don't think the Sharks will be signing him, just because, again, he hasn't really produced too much in the last couple seasons. And then finally, from the 2019 draft class, Igor Spiridonov, I can never say his name right. 4 games, 0 points so far in the KHL. Big question is, will he make the 2019 class an over? That means none of the guys are just kind of left. This 2019 draft class for the Sharks turning out to be a big old stinker. Yev Knyzev, no longer with the team. Dylan Hamlock, no longer with the team. Igor Spiridonov, we may never see. Timur Igor Ramava got traded, no longer with the team. Santeri Hadaka, no longer with the team. Yeah, this might be an over on this 2019 draft class. So yeah, that's, man, when I do the next year, when I do the 2019 draft class recap, that's going to be a really depressing episode. So yeah, but I think though overall, so again, where this season is probably going to be a very long season with the Sharks. We will do our best here at Locked On Sharks to cover these prospects, kind of do more check-ins. I think, maybe we'll do monthly or 2 monthly, bi-monthly, every 2 months, check-ins on how these guys are progressing, especially once, the junior guys get back into it and kind of get into the swing of things here, because, we believe the children are our future, and the Sharks, they have a very, very bright future. So nothing to worry about. Again, guys like Bystedt, who maybe haven't had a great start to their season. It's a very long season, guys, to go through lulls, all that jazz. So is still very excited about, the Sharks prospect pool and where it's headed. And, just the whatever additions they make this year is just going to be a kind of like nice cherry on top as the Sharks team looks towards the future. So, that's going to be it for me today. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow where we'll be breaking down the Sharks training or preseason game. I think it's against the Ducks. Actually, I think the next two are against the Ducks. So, or maybe the Kings. I don't know. I know they're playing the Ducks. So we'll be breaking down that. What the big takeaways from there. Hopefully, we'll see maybe one William Eklund. I assume we'll see William Eklund at some point here this soon. Then, of course, I think we'll do a nice stock up, stock down at some point this, discuss how the guys are looking, which guys are impressing so far, which guys maybe not where they need to be. So plenty of good stuff coming along. Make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts, or you can subscribe on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Follow me on Twitter and Threads at My Fry Hole. And until tomorrow, bye, friends.